Hello, this lesson is on finding the whole with percent. Okay, because this is our ratio and rate reasoning unit, we will be using ratio and rate reasoning to accomplish this subskill. We are going to find a percent of a quantity as a rate per 100. We're going to solve problems involving involving finding the whole given a part and the percent. So we're really using what we're looking at is using a ratio table with the part and the percent to find the whole. Okay, we're going to skip ahead to number 1 here. And here we have a word problem. Akira is checking his progress in a bike race. How many miles is the race? So really what we're doing is we're looking at this graphic over here to see what information we have. We have 40% of the race is completed, and we have a little graphic here to display that. And 40% is the same as 24. So really this is kind of a beginning of a ratio. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw myself a nice little ratio table here, because you guys know I love me a ratio table. We're going to start off using percent on the top. So I'm just going to draw a percent symbol. And then the next thing that we're looking at is miles completed. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and fill in what our graphic has here. We have 40% is done, and that means 24 miles have been completed. Okay. Here's the deal, guys. We need to find the whole number. So when we think about when we did finding percent of a quantity, what we did is we started at 0, and then we had 0%, and then we had some final number over here, and then 100%. So we want to kind of apply this concept up here. So we have 40% already, but we need to get to 100% because we need to find the whole part right here. Okay. So I'm going to go to 100% because that's eventually what I want to get to, right? So what we're going to do first, this table should look kind of familiar to you when we talk about equivalent ratios. The first thing that we want to do is we want to find a friendly ratio here. So what number can go both into 24 and into 40? Okay, so I know that 8 can go into 40, and I know it also can go into 24. So 40 divided by 8 would be 5. 24 divided by 8 is 3. And then we have a nice friendly ratio there. Now what we can do, just like when we were finding equivalent ratios, is we know that we can hop by multiplication here from 5 to 100. So I know that 5 times 20 is 100. And whatever I do to one part of the ratio to make it equivalent, I need to do to the other part of the ratio. So I'm going to have 20 down here. So 3 times 20, we're going to end up with 60. So this should look exactly like what we practiced before with equivalent ratios. So here was our missing piece. This was the one that we needed to figure out. So it says, how many miles is the race? Well, when 100% of the race is complete, that means there's going to be 60 miles. So our answer here, 60. Okay, you can also use a double number line to figure this out. That's kind of what I started drawing at the beginning here. For my brain, it works a little bit better to use a ratio table, but if you are someone who has a number line brain, I'm going to leave this graphic here for you to look at, and you can pause and kind of digest what's happening here. But the majority of this lesson will be using ratio tables. Okay, so this is kind of like what I did, what I showed you, except my table was horizontal. Same difference here. Okay, let's go to number 2. At Shaw Middle School, 150 students take part in cleaning up the school. This is 30% of the students that attend the school. How many students attend Shaw Middle School? So we don't know what the total amount is. We want to know how many students there are total. We know that there's a portion of them. Some of them clean the school. We want to know how many there are total. So just like before, we're going to make ourselves a ratio table. Okay, and the two things that we're comparing are the percent and the amount of students. So far we know that 30% of the students help clean, so we're going to throw that in there. And that 30% was the same as 150 students. just like the problem before, we want to figure out what it takes to get to 100% because that's that's the total amount. So I'm going to put 100 here. So really what I'm trying to figure out is this total number of students. Now, I highly encourage you guys to have a color pencil to do your math so that you can kind of color code along with me. It helps visualize math a little bit better. Okay, so what we have here is our first ratio that we're going to try and make friendly. So I know I need to find a number that goes both into 30 and 150. If I see here, this is 3 tens and this is 15 tens. So really I'm looking for what number goes into 3 and 15. Well, I know that number is 3, but because we're working with a 10 here, we're going to say it's 30, 3 tens. So we're going to divide by 30 on the top and 30 on the bottom. Okay, 30 divided by 30 is 1. 150 divided by 30 is 5. So now we can see here, I can go ahead and jump from this 1 to 100 using multiplication, right? So 1 times 100 is 100. Whatever I do to one part of the ratio to make it equivalent, I have to do to the other part. So I'm going to multiply this bottom number by 100 also. And 5 times 100 is 500. So we know that there are 500 students attending Shaw Middle School. Okay, so really what we're doing is we're just finding equivalent ratios. Looking here at number 3, go ahead, just like always, we're going to start with our ratio table. We'll fill in what we're comparing. We know we have percent. And then the other thing that we're talking about here is points. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and read the question to you and we'll get started filling this in. At a basketball game, the home team scores 60% of the points. The home team scores 45 points. How many points are scored in all? Okay, so we want to find out how many points total. We're starting off with 60%, okay? And 60% is 45 points, right? So we're going to make our ratio table to have an open spot for where our friendly ratio would go. And then we're going to fill in 100% because that's the total amount. We want to get to the whole, right? So that means I'm trying to figure out points. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find a friendly ratio. We're going to make this guy a little bit more friendly. I know just off the top of my head, I can try to find a number that can go both into 60 and 45. I want to try to find the greatest common factor, okay? One that can be both into them. So like 5 can go into both of these numbers, but that's not the biggest number that can go in. I know 15 can go into both of these. Whoa, yowza. Sorry, I didn't mean to scoot in like that. All right, so I know 15 can go in here and 15 can go in here. So 15, 30, 45, that's 3. And then 15 divided by 60, or 60 divided by 15, 15, 30, 45, 60. It's 4. Okay, now we can clearly see that we're going to have to make a jump here. What do I multiply times 4 to get to 100? I know 25 times 4 is 100. So whatever I'm going to do to one part of the ratio, I'm going to do to the other part of the ratio to keep it equivalent. So 3 times 25, 75. So we know at 100% of the points, when the whole thing is done, we're going to end up with 75 points. So our clear answer choice here is C, 75 points. And finally, our last question here. You guys know the drill. We're going to be making ourselves a ratio table. We are comparing percent with money on groceries. So I'm just going to put a dollar symbol. That way I don't have to write out some big long words. Okay. And let's go ahead and read our problem. Lamont spends $120 on groceries. This is 25% of the money he earns this week. How much money does Lamont earn? Show your work. So we know that at 25% of the money that he gets is 120. Okay. We need to know what full amount, what whole. So at 100%, how much money does he have? So really what we're looking for to fill out is this dollar amount. How many dollars does he have? Okay. So starting in the first column, we're going to find a friendly ratio here. What number goes both into 25 and 120? Okay, let's think about that. I know that 5 can go into 25, and I know that 5 can also go into 120. Let's think, is there a number that can go in a little bit higher? I'm just going to stick with 5 for now, okay? We may find that 25 maybe is a little, or 5 is a little smaller for us, but we'll start that way. So 25 divided by 5 is 5. Okay, and then 120, if we can't do this off the top of our head, that's totally okay. We have 5 goes into 12 2 times, not evenly. And then 5 goes into 24 times. So 24 would go here. All right, you guys. So, again, anytime you have to do long division, don't ever feel ashamed that you have to write that out. We would rather you be accurate than just quick guess, okay? Now we can see we're going to make a little jump here with multiplication. 5 times what is going to equal 100? Well, that's 20. Okay, and whatever I do to one part, I have to do to the other. So 24 times 20. So we're going to go 24 times 20. 0, 0. That's 8, 4. Okay, so we know, oops, let's do a different marker here, that our friend Lamont has $480. Okay, so that's when he has a full 100%, he has $480. Okay, guys, so really what we're doing this lesson, super duper simple skill that we've already learned. We're using equivalent ratios to find the whole of the percent. The trickiest part here, which once we practice a few, we can see that all we really need to do is figure out what's going to be our equivalent ratio here, and then we can do that final step. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Happy math.